Yeah, so basically in 1998, the restrictions came in. It was actually in the mid-80s, but they were kind of changed the listing of the breeds or whatever. Now, typically governments around the world have always dealt with the issue of dangerous dogs in one of two ways. They've either introduced breed-specific legislation or non-breed-specific legislation. Breed-specific, in our case in Ireland, is this regulations in 1998, which prohibits or in places restrictions on certain breeds of dogs. There's 11 dog breeds and strains and mixes of them, with non-breed specific legislation typically promoting responsible dog ownership, and it's normally coupled with an education programme. So the incidence of dog bites in Ireland from 1998 to 2013, I've conducted research recently, and in that space of time there have been over 3,164 actually people hospitalised due to dog bite in Ireland. Now that's hospitalisation beyond accident and emergency departments, so these are very serious for a large number of days. It's actually consistently rising all the time, and it has always ever been since 1998. It's actually risen 21% in total over that period when you control for all population sizes across the country. There are a number of reasons for that happening. There's research that's been conducted by the University of Lincoln, Professor Daniel Mills, that's found that when you control or you place restrictions on certain breeds of dogs, what you're actually doing is you're lulling society into a false sense of security about other breeds. So people are more likely to approach golden retrievers, labradors, other breeds that wouldn't be typically restricted. What research throughout the 90s, throughout the noughties and the 80s as well have found is that there's actually no difference. So you have a restricted breed like a Rottweiler or some other breed, there's actually no difference in aggression between those breeds. There's no difference in factors leading to biting between those breeds whatsoever. This is so much so that every organisation in the world, large veterinary organisations, the White House administration even released a statement 3 years ago. It was a document on why breed-specific legislation is a bad idea. So the consensus, and even the Centre for Disease Control and Prevention in the United States, the Public Health Institute basically, have stopped collecting breed data because there's no validity at all to it. Well, there's a few problems with that. Like the first problem is it's actually impossible to identify what breed actually falls into what category. So you've got a situation where you've got 11 dog breeds, and the current regulations in 1998 states that it includes mixes of these breeds. So that's first generation mixes. So it could be one of these breeds and another dog that mix. That'd be a first generation, or you've got dogs that contain a strain of these breeds. So that's the current legislation targets all of that. The problem is that it's actually impossible to identify dog breeds. The current president of the American Veterinary Medical Law Association, Dr. Robert Simpson, has released a statement to all veterinarians and all animal control in the United States and globally as well. It was a peer-reviewed publications that no individual should attempt to identify a dog breed, because what was happening was that was actually making a lot of veterinarians liable, and different individuals who were attempting to identify different dog breeds, because an incident would occur afterwards, the dog was misidentified. The problem is as well is that a lot of the time what happens is that the frequency of misidentification. So one would imagine that it might only be 1 in 1,000 that you might get wrong. The best that the breed identification can do by visual breed identification, has reported in peer-reviewed research, is 25%. So out of every 4 dogs that they're presented with, their accuracy, the best that they can do is they can get it right 1 in 4, basically what breed any dog is. Which is the reason why the consensus is internationally now from the American Veterinary Medical Law Association is to stop attempting to identify what breed of dog it is, because it's worth noting that 1% of a dog's genes make up what the dog actually looks like. So these are the characteristics, the morphological characteristics that we'd associate with a breed, be it the ears, be it the nose, the snout, or the size, or whatever. It's only 1% of a dog. The only way to reduce incident rates is to target irresponsible dog owners. In 2006, between 2006 and 2007 in the Netherlands, they did a study to find out how their legislation was doing. They had restrictions as well and bans in place. What they found was that bite incidence rates had risen to 1.75. What that means is 1.75 people per 100,000 in the population were being hospitalised. In Ireland during the same period it was 4.75. So it was greater than 3 times the amount of people were being hospitalised in Ireland. As I mentioned earlier, it's actually still rising. So now we're close to 6 people per 100,000 hospitalised in Ireland, which is astronomical internationally. And it's a real worry because the international best practice in this from all organisations, British Veterinary Association, American Veterinary Association, the White House, all of it, is that it should never be used. Breed-specific legislation has no scientific basis whatsoever. And that's the international consensus, you know.
Where did they come up with these 11 breeds then? Like, I mean, what's the rationale behind planting? If you know this, I'm sure it's a known.
It's a known because it's peer reviewed, so anyone could go on.
Why did they pick 11?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Like in Italy at one point they had 98. They had gone through a cycle of 98 different breeds, and it had everything from corgis to whatever. It doesn't have any basis in any evidence whatsoever. Anyway, it'd be funny if it wasn't so damaging, you know, because what you find is that bite incident rates go up because it's the international. It's established. The breeds suffer, so there's other sides of it that either where people might be reluctant to rehome one of these breeds, or there might be other kind of situations that might come about. Like this, if you were to have an autism assistance dog, or a dog for children with a specific disability where you might pick up an object or this, the dog would have to be muzzled at all times in public. If an individual was coming from another country to Ireland and was using their dog, their assistance dog in that role in Ireland, they'd have to have the dog muzzled at all times. The problem is, and what the consensus is, that an individual might think, or a group might think, that it's only Labradors that are being used. Within one organisation in New York, there's over 10,000 of the breeds that we have restricted at the moment that are used with one organisation in New York called Therapy Dogs Incorporated. He in particular uses Doberman dogs, Dobermans, all the time. For various reasons, for hospital physiotherapeutic roles and this. That can't happen in Ireland because of the current regulations. And it does cause an awful lot of stress as well to restricted owners. You know, if what it does ultimately, and one of the research that's been done on it, is that it separates responsible dog owners. So it causes a wedge where what you're trying to do is you're trying to unify responsible dog owners so you can isolate those that are irresponsible. Interesting, there's research again from the University of Lincoln that found that the processes that are involved in stereotyping different breeds of dog are the exact same processes involved in stereotyping races of people. So they know now that there isn't any validity to it, but it's actually making things worse. So there's kind of a cycle thing, and it kind of happens all the time, you know. And it's really important for any dog to be socialized. You know, like animal behaviors tell all the time that the most important thing is dog socialization. It reduces fear, reduces the likelihood of dogs attacking and stuff. Whereas you might meet other dog owners that might walk their dogs at 4:30 in the morning, for example, just to try and avoid people, and you've got this kind of thing. Whereas really, it's every dog should be out together, socializing, learning how to behave appropriately in public, you know. And that's the key, you know. That's the key of how it works, and you know, it's what other countries have found, you know, that you know when you start doing that, start educating people, you'll be able to target irresponsible owners very quickly, and you're able to generate revenue from the state. You're able to generate employment through training. You're able to, you know, the list is endless of the benefits of it. But most importantly, you're keeping people safe. You know, like, and that's the main deal. You know, especially children in Ireland. All the out of the 3,164 hospitalizations, 50% of them were children under the age of 10. So they're all children, which is one of the things that frequently come up. That people you might say that, oh, it's because of his musculature or the fact that he's large, that he can inflict more damage. The vast majority of all fatalities, with the exception of a very, very small percentage, are always very young children. research conducted in Australia has found that toy breeds, like so Pomeranians and different toy breeds, have all killed children. You know, there have all been fatalities. You know, and interesting. I was mentioning earlier that there was a research study done on 256 human fatalities, for example, in the United States, and they found that breed wasn't a factor at all. Everything, all the fatalities, all the contributing factors were either under the control of the owner or under control of the victim. And very interestingly, the American Veterinary Medical Association set up a task force looking at all dog bites over 2 continents and over 40 years. And their report was that, and I quote, "No one breed of dog should be considered disproportionately more dangerous than another." That was their conclusion, you know.